This is about the Ventura marijuana ban. The city of Ventura is going to hold a series of meetings, or a meeting, that will be held at 5:30 p.m. in the community meeting room at City Hall, 501 Polay Street, room 202, on the following dates, right? It says Thursday, March 11th and Thursday, April 1st, but as you can see, I pulled up the calendar and those days are on Friday, so I guess they're idiots or something at the City Hall. I don't know what's wrong with them. That's a major sort of a dirt move right there. Anyway, so it's Friday, April 1st. The March 11th meeting was the one where they established that they were going to have public meetings. So I'm going to try to attend that with my husband, see if I can get some other people to show up. So we're going to go see if we can go attend that. And like I said, even though it says Thursday, April 1st, apparently in the calendar, April 1st is a Friday. I guess it's some kind of April Fool's joke from the city. This is ocweekly.com. 420 Games kick off their De-Stigmatizing tour in Santa Monica. The 420 Games is a group, like a series of races and relays and stuff they've been running across the state to try to show that stoners are not whatever it is the old people have dreamed up in their crazy old heads about us. You know, whatever it was they used to run on the nightly news and junk. Oh, God, another ad. Dear Lord. Okay, stoners from across Southern California gather at the Santa Monica Pier this past Saturday for the first stop of the 420 Games, a tour dedicated to destigmatizing the pothead stigma, starting off the day with a 420-mile run from Santa Monica to the Venice Pier and back. The mini marathon was full of spirited cannabis users, some on skateboards, a few on green scooters, and others rocking green face paint, determined to prove that they can live a healthy, active lifestyle while regularly smoking marijuana. Why is it determined to prove? We already proved that. I've outlived all my drinking counterparts here. Hello, what are you talking about trying to prove? I already proved it. Virgo Kush. Okay. Prior to the jog from Santa Monica to Venice, Steve D'Angelo, cannabis thought leader, and please, I wish that wasn't a real word, thought leader. Please, let's stop using that right now because I really don't like that. This is horrible, horrible thing. Thought leader. No, please let's not use that anymore. Cannabis owner and of Harborside Health Center, and he's basically is the leader for the art group, but thought leader, let's just not use that term at all. Let's just agree that we're not going to use that term anymore. A dispensary that has been hailed as a national prototype kicked off the celebration with a keynote address. After thanking everyone for coming out, he explained that by participating in the event like the 420 Games, we are moving closer to a more unified and realistic understanding of marijuana. The crowds ate up as cheered, and high fives were shared in the name of legalization. Sounds like a little butthurt there in that statement there, writer. CARE, just say now, Cannabis Awareness, Research, and Economy. Live music food trucks, Leguantis beer booth, I don't know what that is, Ease, and other cannabis vendors set up shop by the pier, and as soon as the runners arrived back in Santa Monica, the real festival began. People were spotted walking around with massive green piñatas on their shoulders, wearing leaf-covered hats and long multicolored dreadlocks. And what does this got to do? I mean, yay? Why did you need to describe all that? The Leguanta beer tasting table was by far the biggest hit of the afternoon, probably because there wasn't free marijuana there. even though their offerings were fully of the hops variety. As the party at the pier came to an end, folks migrated over to the V Lounge in Santa Monica, where Pato Bonton brought the reggae vibe, and the Kyle Turrell Band chipped in with some altered rock spirit. Who wrote this? They're terrible. Known for their specialty cocktails and appetizers sized bites, the V Lounge made sure everyone was good and toasted. Because, yeah, drinking is fine. Drinking till you are drunk as a skunk is fine in California, but don't light up a joint, my God. The entire fucking world will fall around your ears if you smoke pot. And don't show a bong. Jesus, oh my God, everybody will lose their fucking mind if they see a bong. You can walk around with an AK-47 on your back, but don't strap a bong to your back. That'll be the end of the earth. When looking around, everyone appeared a bit pie-eyed, with a drinks in hand, signs of a successful event. Yeah, for alcohol. I love how they had to make sure that alcohol consumption was all written into the story. The 420 games have a San Francisco edition in August, as well as stops in Colorado, Seattle, and Oregon. Just like the Santa Monica rendition, those events will also feature marathons, mountain bikes, races for Colorado and Oregon, and other competitions in support of destigmatizing marijuana and celebrating its empowerment by drinking beer. Properties. Okay, I'm sorry, but I had to notice that they really had to hype up the whole beer drinking thing there, didn't they? More information on the 420 games can be found here. See you next year for the Bacchanalia of beer. Think you know. I think I'll skip the beer. We're not the beer people anymore. Hey, they just love the beer. Drink beer. Drink the beer. Federal officials advocate push pill tracking database. Washington. This is from stripes.com. Really, Stripes? Stars and Stripes. I was going to say like Stripes like with Bill Murray. No, Stars and Stripes. Okay. The nation's top health officials are stepping up calls to require doctors to log in to a pill tracking database before prescribing painkillers and other high-risk drugs. The move is part of a multi-pronged strategy by the Obama administration to tame an epidemic of abuse and death tied to opioid painkillers like Vicodin and Oxycodone. But physicians groups see the proposed requirements to check the databases as overly burdensome, another time-consuming task that takes away from patient care. Yeah, like all their golf games. Helping push the administration's efforts forward is an unusual multi-million-dollar lobbying campaign funded by the former corporate executive who has turned his attention to fighting addiction. Their role is to say that what needs to be done, my role is to get it done, says Gary Mendel, CEO of the nonprofit Shatterproof, which is lobbying in state capitals to tighten prescription standards for addictive drugs. Mendel founded the group in 2011 after his son committed suicide following years of addiction to painkillers. Previously, Mendel was CEO of HEI Hotels and Resorts, which operates upscale hotels to date. Mendel has invested $4.1 million of his own money in the group to hire lobbyists, public relations experts, and 12 full-time staffers. A news report from Shatterproof lays out key recommendations to improve prescription monitoring systems which are currently used in 49 states. Let me enlarge this and knock out some of their ads here. Mendel founded the group in 2011 after his son committed suicide following years of addiction to painkillers. He's put $4.1 million of his own money into hiring lobbyists and public relations experts and 12 full-time staffers. A new report from Shatterproof lays out key recommendations to improve prescription monitoring systems, which are currently used in 49 states. The system collects data on prescriptions for high-risk drugs that can be viewed by doctors and government officials to spot suspicious patterns. The aim is to stop doctors shopping, where patients rack up multiple prescriptions from different doctors, either to satisfy their own drug addiction or to sell on the black market. But in most states, doctors are not required to use the system. Last week, the White House sent letters to all 50 U.S. governors recommending that they require doctors to check the database and require physicians to upload drug dispensing data on a daily basis. Prescription drug monitoring databases are a proven tool for reducing prescription drug misuse and diversions, said Michael Botticelli, the White House's drug czar, in a statement. But government health officials also say that virtually all states' systems need improvement, including more up-to-date information. There isn't yet a single state in the country that has an optional or optimal prescription drug monitoring program that works in real time, actively managing every prescription, said Dr. Tom Frieden, director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, in a press conference last week. Physicians warn about the unintended consequences of mandating use of programs that can be slow and difficult to use. Patients may face longer waits and less time with their physicians, say Dr. Stephen. Yeah, like that isn't happening now. Like Stephen Stack, president of the American Medical Association. Oh, please. Did you say this after you got back from your golf trip? Why don't you knock it off? There really is a patient safety and quality of care cost when you mandate the use of tools that are not easy to use. Really, the police officers would know nothing about that, them sitting in their cars filling out tons of paperwork instead of enforcing laws. That's the modern world. Get over it. You know what? Get a program that does it for you and stop crying. The report from Shatterproof highlights the gaps in current prescribing systems. When doctors are not required to log in, they generally only do so 14% of the time, according to the data from Brandeis University. The report points to positive results in 7 states that have mandated database usage: Kentucky, New York, Tennessee, Connecticut, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Massachusetts. In Kentucky, deaths linked to prescription opioids fell 25% after the state required logins in 2012, along with other steps designed to curb inappropriate prescribing. The same information can be used to prevent deadly drug interactions between opioids and other common medications, including anti-anxiety drugs like Valium and Xanax. Opioids are highly addictive drugs that include both prescription painkillers like codeine and morphine, as well as illegal narcotics, primarily heroin. Death linked to opioid misuse and abuse have increased fourfold since 1999 to more than 29,000 in 2014, the highest figure on record according to the CDC. And who do we have to thank for this? The FDA. The FDA that allowed the drug companies. And why do the physicians fucking complain about it? Because who the hell do you think puts money into all those flippin' doctors' colleges? Pharmaceutical companies. Hello. Look on your doctor's desk. Does he have a bunch of pens with pharmaceutical company names on them? Because he got them for free, along with his vacation and his watch, and maybe a yacht. Earlier this month, the CDC released the first ever national guidelines for prescribing opioids, urging doctors to first try non-opioid painkillers, like marijuana. physical therapy, and other methods to treat chronic pain. But pain specialists fear required pill tracking databases will discourage doctors from prescribing the drugs even when appropriate. Yeah, I doubt that. Leaving patients in pain, I doubt that. And that's called using a pain point. That's a sales tactic because you're saying, this might hurt the average guy if you don't let me sell to my usual drug dealer who's selling them in the black market and making us both a ton of money. Dr. Gregory Terman says it takes him 3 minutes to log in to the system used in his home state of Washington. Get a better internet provider then, dumbass. It is if it was easier to use, more people would use it. Bullshit, said Terman. This guy is another bullshit artist who is president of the American Pain Society. Bullshit. A group which accepted money from pain drug makers like many physicians. Truman said he supports the technology but doesn't think it should be required. This is exactly the same thing as Project Sam saying that they're for legalization, but under the right circumstances. No, you just want to create roadblocks to something that competes with your fucking oxycodone because Purdue Pharmaceuticals is paying for that shit. Just like these guys that see, that's the pharmaceutical companies. You can hear them talking through the bullshit. The police want to go after something that's for real and stop dicking off with fucking marijuana dispensaries. Do this, bitches. Otherwise, you're just a bunch of flunkies for rich people. You're just a bunch of flunkies for rich people. If it was easier to use, more people would use it. Bullshit. Gee, it's interesting how this Terman guy is making the exact same sort of arguments that marijuana dispensaries make in Santa Ana, and yet when it is a big pharmaceutical company, a big fancy doctor, that seems to carry more weight. See, it's bullshit. If it's bullshit on one side, then why isn't it bullshit on the other? If you say that dispensaries are bullshitting, then why isn't this doctor bullshitting? Last week, 2 states targeted by Shatterproof signed into law database checking requirements, Massachusetts and Wisconsin. Mendel says his staffers are now lobbying in California and Maryland. Thank God you're here in California. Take a look at the fucking hospital city they're building here. I don't think we can afford to wait decades for this to slowly get implemented into the system, he says. I think we need to take action now. He's absolutely right. You got to move faster than these scummy pharmaceutical companies before they kill everybody. How the medical marijuana industry could help LA's homeless population. Fortune.com, Fortune magazine, March 28, 2016. The population has increased by 12% in 2 years. Los Angeles is considering different funding sources to reduce the city's rate of homelessness. Last month, city officials approved a $2 billion housing project to be completed over the next 10 years. That would provide residents with affordable housing units and support services. Southern California Public Radio reports that one of the proposals the city is considering is a medical marijuana tax. If approved, the city would implement a 15% tax rate on cultivation and sale of medical marijuana. Officials have estimated that a medical marijuana tax alone could bring in close to $17 million each year. That amount wouldn't even come close to covering the $2 billion total in the next decade, but it could substantially increase if California votes to legalize recreational marijuana this year. The City Council will decide on the proposal by July, and if it's approved, voters will see it on a ballot either this November or next March. I kind of have a problem with this. If you add 15% on top of the state's 15%, that's 30% tax, then you're making the medical marijuana that's helping the homeless too expensive for even the homeless to afford. I just see this as another opportunity to promote the gray market. Even though I'm all about helping the homeless, when you increase the taxes, you increase the chance of the gray market being up your ass forever. Though a handful of California cities have already implemented similar tax plans, it's expected to face opposition, as Mashable reports. Patients who use medical marijuana tend to resist marijuana taxes, claiming that it takes away some of their autonomy when it comes to making the choice between a natural remedy and prescription drugs. The marijuana tax is just one of 9 proposals LA is considering to help curb homelessness, which has increased by 12% in just 2 years. The one that would provide the most money is a $1 billion bond issue, which Los Angeles would pay back over the next 30 years using property taxes. They're also considering doubling the current tax rate on real estate sales, which would bring in an extra $167 million per year. Holy shit, doubling the real estate sales tax? Wow. Good luck owning property in LA. Won't play the video because it looks totally unrelated. Santa Ana's black market for pot. The city has twice as many unlicensed marijuana shops as legal ones. OCRegister.com. 7 months after Santa Ana began licensing medical marijuana dispensaries, officials say there are up to twice as many unlicensed pot retailers as sanctioned shops in the city. Some licensed dispensaries say competition from unregulated shops, which aren't subject to the same city taxes, limits of operating hours, and other oversights, is threatening to put them out of business. Many of the other oversights include apparently paying off the mayor. Little payola to these people. We're stoked to have a store, and we're trying to do everything right, said Jerry Holcomb, co-owner of 420 Central Dispensary. But the rogue stores are making it extremely tough. There are unlicensed sellers who openly thwart the law. Authorities say others are challenging the city's procedure for awarding licenses or argue they have a legal right to provide medical marijuana to collectives under the state's 20-year-old Compassionate Use Act, which legalized medical marijuana. The Santa Ana Police Department has a dedicated task force working on enforcement of the marijuana pot industry and says it has shut down more than 90 to 190 unlicensed operations identified to date. He did not say how many edibles were sampled during those busts. Shuttering the remaining 20 or so unregulated pot shops has been a lengthy, difficult procedure, exacerbated in part by lack of information on who is actually running the business, said Commander Jason Vermontes. We do everything within our power to shut them down. Sure you do. The ongoing enforcement battle in Santa Ana, let's call it a power battle or a battle for money and power. Enforcement, not so much. Which has the only sanctioned pot shops in the county, highlights a larger question infusing the statewide debate over legalization of marijuana. Can the government gain full control of the gray retail pot market that has gone largely unregulated for 2 years? And I might add, mostly because of the police unions who fought it at every turn. And now who are they going to blame for that? They're certainly not going to take the rap for their own actions. Becoming licensed medical marijuana has been legal in California since 1996, although you couldn't tell. And storefronts, pot dispensaries have proliferated, but until October, state law made no provisions for such businesses or places any regulation on their operation. Cities across the state, including many in Orange County, have declared a war on unlicensed pot shops in recent years, using police raids and court actions. Other jurisdictions opt to regulate and tax the business, as Santa Ana did when voters approved Measure BB on November 4, 2014. After the measure passed, the City Council approved a ban a plan to allot 20 licenses on a lottery basis. Yes, a lottery. Why not have pin the tail on the donkey? That's another childish game that we could base sort of important decisions on. A lottery. Ridiculous. Only 10 of which have completed the permitting process. So 20 paid to get into the process, and magically only 10 have managed to get through it, and apparently a couple of them are tied to the mayor. Financially, the City Council also pledges $1.5 million annually towards enforcement to gain rapid closure of any collectives, dispensaries operating illegally. Yeah, right. Illegal pot shops lead to a proliferation of crime and the lowering of quality of life for residents, Vermonte said. The usual police rhetoric bullshit. Let's retell this as it really is. 1.5 million annually. Woo-hoo, said Vermontes. We're going to make a lot of money. It's going to take us forever to close these pot shops. The locations of unlicensed shops may not be a mystery. Police say they follow crowdsourcing locations on Weed Maps, which is a website online, like Sherlock Holmes. They simply go into Google search, put in marijuana in California, and lo and behold, a variety of sources come up for information. I mean, it's worth every penny of investigation that we're paying these people, isn't it? They used the internet. I mean, wow. That's some Sherlock Holmesing right there, boy. But Vermonte said determining who's behind the operation often involves getting search warrants or sometimes conducting lengthy surveillances and probably testing a lot of products from these raids. Gotta test those products. There's no background checks on these people. There's no way of knowing who's working inside of these places, Vermonte said. You could say that of any business. None of the dispensaries that appear on Weed Maps, but not on the city's licensed list, agree to speak with the register for this story. Can you blame them? Some unlicensed shops have operated under the assumption protection of a limited liability cooperation, masking the true identity of the owners. Vermonte said others operate different types of legitimate businesses, such as selling hats out the front door and marijuana out the back. Landlords often aren't aware of pot being sold from their buildings. We're landlords, and I can tell you it's none of our business until you do something about it, policeman. I don't know when my tenants take a shit. I don't know when they have sex, and it is not my business to know that, dumbass. It's called renters' rights. I thought you were a police officer, you understood the law. They get complaints or see, now this I thought was absolutely fucking crazy. They see electrical bills skyrocket due to the extra air conditioning units and grow lamps used to cultivate pot. Are you trying to tell me there are landlords out in California that are paying for some big building's utility bills? Are you insane? The most you pay for is water and trash. You sure as shit don't pay for electricity. What lunatic is doing that? They deserve to get screwed in the ass. That's when the property owners call us. I call bullshit on that again. Hey, we think they are selling marijuana out of our shop. I bet that's a pretend fucking, actual conversation. Okay, I bet you that's something he just made up. Because the whole supporting argument before that, I highly question. Renters have rights. Most of the time, once a dispensary is closed, it remains closed, Vermonte said. But he said there are certain locations that have remained reopened numerous times because they got more money than you. They got more money than God. For years, the city has been trying to shutter the Sky High Collective, which who does not have as much money as God, which opened in 2010 in a storefront on West 17th Street. Attorney Matthew Papa said he's fighting for that dispensary and others to be able to stay open under state disability laws, which protect people with physical and mental impairments to be able to go to stores that are within a few blocks of where they live rather than in Timbuktu at the edge of the fucking planet where you have to fucking fight ravaging wolves or something to get to the place. That's cute and everything. That's Jim Crow. Those are Jim Crow laws. Use the back door, not the front door. Use the black drinking fountain, not the white drinking fountain. Same idea, different story. It's my belief that they provide for patients legally because they fall under the same provisions as a methadone clinic or any other healthcare provider that nobody has to play a fucking lottery for to get involved in the business with. He said, disabilities, he didn't say that part, I said it. Disability law should protect these patients. Santa Ana police garnered unwelcome attention, international attention, after a May raid caught on video showed officers forcing Sky High customers to the ground and eating merchandise. 3 officers involved in the raid were charged this month with petty theft and vandalism. Yes, petty theft and vandalism so rises to the occasion of law enforcement under the color of authority stealing a federally illegal drug and consuming it on the job. Oh yeah, petty theft and vandalism so rises to that occasion. Can you smell the bullshit here? The corruption? I mean, it is so heavy with corruption. They just flaunt it. They don't even care. Attorney Anthony Corral, who is also representing Sky High, said the city used strong-arm tactics to try to shut down the dispensary. A more reasonable approach, he argued, would be to file a lawsuit and go to the courts to obtain an injunction. We think it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment and other civil rights because they're using unreasonable force to enforce a law that typically does not involve force. It usually involves someone with clipboards. But see, that's what's upsetting the police. They don't like to be the ones that are escorting guys with clipboards in that are taking over a very lucrative job that included benefits like eating medical marijuana goodies during the bust. They don't want to give that up to a guy with a clipboard. Lottery processes was unfair. Attorney Arthur Travasso is representing Live to Love and 4 other unlicensed pot shops in lawsuits against Santa Ana, claiming the city's lottery process was unfair because it allowed multiple entries by the same individuals as long as they paid the 1,690 fee. In other words, they could enter multiple times. They never did background checks. They did not care about safety or morals or any of that shit. It's money, money, money. If the city of Santa Ana was really serious about making this about safety and not just about money, then they would have had done a little bit more of a thorough check before they even let people into the lottery process, he said. Travasso added he is not against regulation, but to pigeonhole the industry into very limited locations, depriving access to medical marijuana to patients who have difficulty traveling to licensed shops. Those high-profile conflicts haven't affected enforcement efforts, and the city continues to seek the permanent shutdown of all illegal dispensaries, Vermonte said. Yeah, of course, because it is a city, what is it? It's a city-state like in the Dark Ages, right? Europe used to have city-states that made war on each other, right? And they had princes in these city-states. And they had their own police forces and military that would make war on anybody and they had basically gangs running. The Medici family was a gang, a very wealthy gang that paid very famous artists to paint paintings of them standing next to Jesus to show how wonderful they were. Same story but in Santa Ana. Oh, I'm so holier than thou. Bullshit. You're crooked. Those high-profile conflicts haven't affected law enforcement, no surprise. But as long as some remain, Holcomb said, shops like his are handicapped. At a disadvantage, unregulated shops aren't paying the 5% tax Santa Ana imposes with Measure BB. That tax may be raised to as much as 10%, although it's not clear if or when it would occur. Holcomb said he believes some unlicensed competitors probably aren't paying an 8% state sales tax either, meaning they can't cut prices. Generally, as taxes and regulation on licensed shops gets more costlier, other sellers of various kinds can get a marketing advantage, said Bu Kilmer, co-director of RAND Drug Policy Research Center. It largely comes down to price. If you jack up the prices with too much of this flippin' taxes, then you're just basically encouraging the gray market, because I, as a consumer, are going to bother to go out and look for a better price. Sorry, I was raised an American consumer. That's what we do. You make the stupid medication too expensive, I will find another way to get it. Travasso said the 5 unlicensed dispensaries he represents can't pay city taxes because they didn't win the city pot shop lottery. My clients would be ecstatic to be paying taxes. I don't know about that, but let's say they are. Okay, he said they could literally go to the city hall offering like buckets, a wheelbarrow full of money, but they won't take it. But they'll be happy to take your taxes and raise the rates on water and everything else in the city and ask you for a sales tax. But they're not going to take the boatload of money offered by the dispensary. In addition to not paying city taxes, unlicensed shops don't have to close by 8 p.m. Like liquor stores, they can stay up all night, most nights, as Santa Ana requires of approved dispensaries. They also don't face weeks of lag time hiring employees as they wait for police background checks to be completed. Holcomb contended many unapproved pot shops also grow their own supply, further reducing costs. 420 Central opened October 10th as Santa Ana's third legal dispensary. The owners have invested close to $1 million so far, Holcomb said, as they try to use high-quality customer service and products to lure customers who've grown accustomed to getting their supply from nondescript storefronts or delivery services. It's just time to get those people in the fringe culture more comfortable with that. Yeah, you know what's going to get me more comfortable with that? That you're not in bed with the police who try to profit off of poor people's misery. How about get away from the fascists? How about that? At OC3, the second licensed shop to open in Santa Ana, owner Chris Francie said he is continuing to absorb the extra costs of operating legally. In other words, he's trying not to pass on the expense that the city's putting on him onto the customers, while he waits for the city to shutter the remaining illegal shops. This is still an industry in Santa Ana that is dealing with an abundance of law enforcement problems, Francie said. But it will take time, and we as a business are understanding of that. State fix coming soon. And not so much. Sanctioned dispensary owners generally are optimistic their concerns will be addressed when requirements for California's new medical marijuana regulations and safety act are enacted in October. They kick in, right? The act, which is made up of 3 bills, establishes a licensing program of marijuana-related businesses and imposes criminal penalties on illegal pot shops. And this is what really the police are salivating all up and down the coast. And an officer in Bakersfield expressed quite eloquently is that in 2 years, they won't be escorting people in with a clipboard. They'll be coming in with guns blazing and get a few shots off, kill some people, scare the other pot shop owners away. That we can now have the right to murder you. I am telling them, you are making a giant mistake. That is a moving goalpost. You're praying to your police god that in 2 years you're going to get control back. Good luck. Not likely. That's a moving goalpost. By the time you get to the end of that process, there will be another requirement put on you. The best remedy will be when it is criminalized at a state level. Francie said, not likely. Then we'll be sitting pretty. Not likely. However, the new law's provisions for licensing and taxation don't take effect until January 1st, 2018, 2 years from now. And Holcomb isn't sure if 420 Central will be able to keep competing with unregulated dispensaries for 21 months. That's really the bottom line for us, Holcomb says. We can make it. Can we make it that long? I'm telling you, it's the same thing for me. My city is going to have meetings about regulating marijuana. What good is that when they're just going to stick it on the edge of town or someplace that's difficult for most people to get to? They're going to make some fiery hoop you have to jump through. Big deal. Gray market still exists. These kinds of actions only lead to disaster. The Act, which is made up of 3 bills, establishes a licensing program and would impose criminal penalties. This guy thinks he'd be sitting pretty. I'm trying to tell him, no, sweetheart, that's a moving goalpost. They're setting you up. It benefits the city and the police utterly for you to fail and move in another sucker pot shop that's going to pay out the nose for the right to be able to be there and licensing like those taxi companies in New York that got fucked in the ass by Uber. You're just waiting to be Ubered. Somehow it's coming. Waiting for a 2-year goalpost is a mistake. However, the new law's provisions for licensing and taxation don't take effect until January 2018. Will Holcomb and his 420 Central be able to make it that long, 21 months from now? As things stand now, with a mishmash of regulations from city to city and state to state, there is no end to the larger battle for effective regulating marijuana sales on the immediate horizon. Consumers will continue to cross jurisdictional lines to buy cheaper weed. Growers will continue shipping from states where laws are more lenient to those where the supply chain is more restricted. Even if Santa Ana shuts down all of the unlicensed pot shops, burgeoning hunting shoppers could drive 5 miles to Anaheim, where authorities are doing battle with 12 dispensaries they say are operating illegally. In other words, the police unions may have jacked around so long, keeping regulation from happening for the last 20 years, that the gray and black market may be here forever, and even with legalization may never go away, because these cities are incapable of implementing it without becoming greedy, stupid fools.